Preparing, go live, waiting for Zoom to come up. We're going to get the music in a second. Come on, I can see us. I can see us on the screen here. Okay, and I always pick on
15
somebody.
seconds.
I always pick on somebody and say, behave yourself. It's you, Candace. You,
10
Candace.
seconds.
yeah,
Gonna send you
I'm
that code.
trouble.
Have a wonderful show.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, let's do this. Everybody wave hello.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives.
Dance with
Producer
me.
and host, aka Radio Red, asks novelists, artists, photographers,
James, getting excited
designers,
here.
comedians, actors, musicians, composers,
I can
screenwriters,
share
directors,
that.
and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's aka Radio Red.
Radio Red in the house. It's Monday, approximately 5:02 p.m. Eastern Time. Where else would Radio Red be except here on the Voice America Empowerment Channel? And guest wave hello on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm running out of hands there, so we're live streaming. I wouldn't have it any other way. And I was telling my guests a moment ago, people say, "Oh, you got a podcast." Well, I don't believe in pre-recording and scrubbing and editing. We're real people. We're live, and we're gonna just talk through this. So I'm so happy to have you here. I have one returning guest and two new guests, and you're going to find out who they are in just a couple minutes. But for right now, I want you all to make the shape of the letter L with your hand, either righty or lefty, I don't care. And on the count of three, join me in saying at this pace, hello, L. 1, 2, 3. Hello,
Hello,
L.
L.
Sound like the train's pulling into the station. Michael, could you please note that they're tied for the top two best in sync guest list, please? We have a little contest every week without telling you. That was great. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener. She's in Whitestone, New York. And Candace, I've been trying to set up a fake GoFundMe. Of course, I raised fake money, so I couldn't spend it anywhere, to get her to move to a place with L. And Alison, I tried to get her to move to London, but it was too hot and we ran out of money. And James, I was looking at the map a year and 6 months ago because I wanted to move to London, and I tilted my head. I have this thing, a little bit of vertigo. I tilted my head, and the first N in London went upside down and turned into a U, and I landed in Loudon, Tennessee. So that's where I am. So I'm trying to get Laura to move. Now, I'm warning all of you, at 6:01 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, I will get an email from lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener, and she will tell me what each of you said on the show. She'll take a little bit from the promo that I sent out today, and then she'll give me a little bit about the quote you picked and a little bit about your comments and your philosophy on creativity. So I'm warning you, there's a reporter out there. Yes, and she's wonderful. This is July 8th. My goodness, I hope everybody had a good holiday. I like to say I hope you had a good 4th and a sparkling 5th, and you can read that any way you want, whatever you were drinking the day after or that day. It's July 8th, 189th day of 2024 in the Gregorian calendar. Used to be Julian calendar. They messed it up so that the days were not consecutive. There was a big gap in October when Gregorian said, I'm going to fix that, and he did. 176 days are remaining. This is the 28th Monday, and Candace, nobody cares about that except me. I do keep track. There we go. So I have a little poem I'm going to read, and full disclaimer, and you're all authors, and Alison makes a very important claim that she never uses AI in her books and her writing, and neither do I in my poetry. I'm a poet on Wednesdays, and every day of the month in April and November, the Poem a Day Challenge run by Robert Lee Brewer, senior editor at Writer's Digest. But when I do my poems for my radio shows, I do ask ChatGPT to help me. So here we go. And when I call your name, please just wave furiously because everybody's watching you. So welcome to Read My Lips, where creativity flows. With aka Radio Red and her Scarlett mic, the magic grows. Today we explore the Scribes of Creativity spark. That's all of you. In the world of words, they leave their mark. Alison McBain, wave hello, with awards galore, ghostwriter and editor always seeking more. Author versus AI, a book each week she pens. Associate editor for Scribes Micro. Her creativity never ends. Alison, did you like that?
That was very cool.
Very cool. Okay, I rent the poems out. I'll talk to you about the rates later on. Candace MacPhie is with us. Say hello, Candace. Once in the Hi, once in the corporate sphere, now a storyteller. Her adventures are clear. Backpacking tales from days gone by. Her Back in a Year series reaches for the sky.
Mhm.
Candace, ooh, she liked that. Good.
Ooh, thank
I
you.
rent, I
Yes.
rent that to you too. James L. Hill is back from the Bronx. He hails. I'm a Queens girl, a multi-genre author with compelling tales. Rock Hill Publishing is his passion and his pride. Urban crime, fantasy, sci-fi, stories far and wide. James, what'd you
Mm.
think?
You hit them all. But I
I
got
did.
more to add. I got more to add.
You more to add. Well, that when you do your bio, you will. But and then here to close it. So join us, dear audience, in our creativity quest with akaRadioRed, always bringing her best, the Scribes of Creativity on this July 8th day with stories to inspire you to create and to play. What do y'all think? Pretty cool?
Very nice.
Okay.
Liked it.
Now, I give ChatGPT a little bit of an open. It knows me already. It knows which day and which show I have a different show on Wednesdays. And I say a little opening, closing. And then I gave it the full bio for you, Alison McBain, the full bio for you, Candace MacPhie, and the full bio for you, James Hill. Now, you know the limit is 999 characters, including spaces. That was a lot of text. I pushed the submit or the hit button, the return button on my keyboard. How long did it take? And I do edit these, Allison. This wasn't just all ChatGPT. I go back and check the bios and make sure they're good. How long did it take? I'm not going to go for minutes because most of you probably know the answer, but in seconds, hold up your hands. How many seconds did it take from the time I hit the return button until the core of that poem was on the screen in front of me? James, Allison, Candace, put up your fingers. How many seconds did it take? Oh boy, you've been watching my show. We're down to where used to be 3, then it was 2.25, and now it's a little over 1 second. I kid you not. It is unbelievable. And then I spend human time doing the editing. So there we are. Now we want to find out who you all really are, because that was just a little, as they say, and you did a little Vorspeise, a little appetizer. So let's go around the table. Allison, you're first, then Candace, then James. And I'd like you to compact, compress, summarize your entire creativity career, however you decide that is, in 3 minutes. Just go for it. So, Alison McBain, welcome. I'm delighted to have you on the show. And shout out to Mickey Mickelson, who brought me all of you. Mickey's in Canada, and he's my favorite fill-in PR person, creative edge. And here you are. So let's go. Allison, I'm putting you on speaker view. Please tell us the full story. Who are you? And welcome.
Sure. The full story, the beginning. Well, I started writing when I was 4, actually, and I've been writing my whole life. It's sort of a core part of who I am. I didn't seek publication though until I was in my 30s. And I started out with a lot of short stories, poetry, and then I grew from there and started writing books. And that led me to being an editor. I am a freelance editor. I work with a number of very fabulous authors. And I'm also a ghostwriter. So I've penned over 24 novels for clients, in addition to having 4 published books of my own. And then, of course, this year, I have taken on the challenge of my project, which is called Author versus AI. And my goal is to show that one author can write almost as fast, not in 1 second, almost as fast as AI, but hopefully much, much better. So I am writing a book a week for a year. I am now on week 12. And I'm doing a 3-book series this week, romance. And it's all genres. So I've done everything from, since I started this project, fantasy, science fiction, romance, literary, dystopian. So you name it, I'm trying to hit every genre I can under the sun.
Allison,
Wow.
how many hours a day in total? You told me you don't write consistently in one stretch. You get up, you pet your cats, and I'm sure they're very happy about that. And you eat once in a while. And there's a little sleeping involved, probably a cup of coffee or glass of water now and then. So in total, if you aggregate all of the hours approximately, do you have a set number of hours you write every day? I know we're all wanting to know.
I don't. I do start pretty early in the day. Sometimes I'll start at like 5:30 maybe in the morning.
Wow.
I have 3 kids, so I gotta get it in where I can. But then after sending them off to school, then I sit down again and write some more. So throughout the day, again, I take breaks. I don't have a set time. It's when I've accomplished my goal or when I'm so tired I can't look at the screen anymore.
And
So
one more question.
yeah.
How long is if there's such a thing as an average book, number of words, number of pages? Are these 120-page books? Are these 500-page books? How would we categorize them in the
Oh, I
length?
don't go by page length. So I go by word count, and
Okay.
the definition of a novel is 40,000 words and above.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have to cross that 40,000 words, and then I've hit my goal for that week. So a bit on the shorter side. Most books are longer, most published books, so they will undergo editing before before they do hit the bookshelves. But yeah, they're
Thank you.
substantively done.
I'm tired just listening to you. I have to wake up. Thank you very much. Candace MacPhie, you and I met a couple weeks ago. I walked you through doing something like what I do with my backgrounds, my AI
Yeah.
art creation. And I was very happy to meet you. And here you are on the show. So I'm putting you on speaker view. Tell us your story. Welcome, Candace.
Hi. Well, my story, I guess, runs in a conventional line from a corporate perspective. I didn't think that writing was something I could do, although I've always wanted to do it. I'm a little bit, I may be risk adverse, I'm not sure. I just, I started the corporate world, did that, and then got to a point where I just thought, I'm not living the life I want. I'm not living the way I want. My kids were getting older. I wasn't spending any time with them. And I just thought, okay, I need to do something a little different. And undertook the monumental for me task to learn how to write, because I was doing PowerPoints. I can do those in my sleep. But writing a book is a completely different competency, and learning how to write was a long journey for me. It took me a lot of years, a lot of revision, finding the right editor, as Alison can probably appreciate, and finding someone I could partner with who I trusted, who understood the story I was trying to tell and was able to help me tell it the best way I could. So, and that's been me. I've been sitting there. I think the hardest part for me was that my family didn't kind of get it until I had the first book published. It was very easy to understand, go to work, get a paycheck, come home. That was very easy. But to sit in the office and type away like Jack from The Shining, with people not understanding what I was doing and what the end product was going to be, was a little bit difficult. But once I got through that first one and was able to hold it in my hand and show people, then the support and the rally happened. And so I just keep going, and I just want to just keep writing good stuff. So that's me.
And I did peek at one of your books after we met a couple of months ago, I think it was, and I was very impressed. The writing is very relatable, very fun. So this is your backpacking and working around the world series, correct? Okay. And
Yes.
how many parts to the series? How many have you done?
There's 5 parts, and I've got 2 published, and then the rest are just coming along. They're all based on my journals, so I parsed them all out, got them all organized. All the journals are dumped in there. I just have to rewrite and rework it. So, that's what it is. It's loads of fun to do, and it's loads of fun to sort of make those travels into something relatable and an adventure, and so that you can actually take the trip and experience everything at that time.
Fun. Thank you very much. And James, he goes by J.L. Hill or James L. with no period after the L Hill. And today he's just James Hill. We had a big debate about what we're going to call you today. James is back. You were on a couple months ago, courtesy of Mickey Mickelson. And he said, I have James back. He's an interesting guy. He didn't really say that. He said, I've got a slot to fill and James is available. But James, I'm always happy to see you. James, I did the audience-ometer, and there are about 27 people who don't remember you being on the show, but let's throw out those numbers. Let's start from scratch. James L. Hill, welcome to Read My Lips. Please tell us who you are. There, you can start from scratch. Go ahead, James.
Okay. Well, I won't say I was on before, but I'm not a very memorable guy. Nah, that's a lie. Everybody knows me. I started writing back when I was a kid. Not at 4. I wasn't like Alison. I wasn't that good. I started like around probably 8 or so when I started reading comics and the Marvel series. And then we would sit down and trace out the Marvel comics and everything. And I would always try to come up with the next part of the story, the next story that was coming out.
Oh,
So
good.
I've been a big fan of Stan Lee forever. And, rest in peace, Stan, because he really got me started writing. And I always had characters in my head. So way back when, my father used to call me Radio Mouth because he used to say I talk all the time. And he said, "You're so bad you even talk to yourself when no one's listening." And I would tell him, "No, I'm not talking to myself. There are people listening, and they're all inside my head." So uh, I went on to start writing stories and short stories and poetry and all kinds of stuff. And then I became a programmer. So I pushed all the writing aside because I went through trying to get published. I went through the usual way of sending stuff out. I took a job when I was like 18, 19 years old in New York with a paper job so I can deliver the paper to the magazine row. So all these things in Mid-Manhattan, all the magazine companies and publishing companies, I got a job lugging papers around so I can get to their offices at night and slide my work underneath their door. And I figured, okay, this is going to get me in, I'm going to get in this way. And, a lot of the stuff came back and some people were nice and like, not what we're looking for, this kind of thing and that kind of thing. And other people were like, don't bug us. But I I wrote a lot of stuff. I wrote a lot of short stories and everything. And then, like I said, I love programming. So I went into programming, writing programs and everything, and became a software engineer, which is also a very lucrative profession. And at some point, I decided I was going to go back to writing. So here I am. I put out 6 books already, 4 of them in the Killer series, which is my homage to the mafia, because I
Oh,
grew up in the
fun.
Bronx with a lot of
Mhm.
mafia people and gangs and
Fun.
everything. So yeah. And then I started off writing sci-fi, like I said, because I wrote for Marvel. So I was always into science fiction, sci-fi, and then fantasy. And as I said, I am now breaking into horror because Stephen
Wow.
King and Edgar Allan Poe has always been my favorite people, especially Edgar Allan Poe. So I'll tell you a little something later about Edgar Allan Poe that's
Okay.
coming up.
Cool.
Well, thank you for coming back. And one thing you didn't mention, Rock Hill Publishing. When did you start it? And do you have clients or is it just your own publishing company for you?
I started Rock Hill Publishing about 10 years ago now, maybe 11. It's hard to tell with time because time doesn't mean that much to me. But around 2013, I started Rock Hill Publishing. My editor lives in South Africa. So I met her through Facebook and
Hmm.
kind of like roped her into a devil's deal, which is I promised to publish her work and she would edit my work. And so, and edit the work for Rock Hill Publishing. And so I had about 8, 9, 10 authors, and I published about a dozen, 2 dozen books now from my other authors around the world. I got authors in South Africa, Cyprus, all
Mm.
across America.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. And are these all digital books or are you publishing hardcover?
Oh no, I publish print, hardcover, paperback, and ebooks. I love hardcover books. I love print books. So I work so much on computers. I try not to read ebooks and things like that because I
Yep.
spend my whole day in front of a computer screen.
There's
Yeah.
nothing like holding a book in your hands, right? And
Yes.
feeling the
Mhm.
paper and the
Mhm.
cover and looking it and turning
Mhm.
it over in your hands. I understand that.
Mhm.
I'm a programmer analyst. Did you know that, James? Did I tell you that last time?
Yeah, we might have had a few conversations
I'm
about programming.
I'm an early woman in tech, and I was coding in COBOL on a Xerox Sigma 6 CP5 mainframe for the state of Oregon And that back in the day, I won't give you the years, but you can imagine. No, I'm not Grace Hopper. I didn't invent any languages. She came before me. We were key punching, and I would carry around a box with 2,080 column Hollerith cards, and you fed them into a card reader, and that's how the program was taken into the computer. And then we eventually modernized and went to a terminal where I could keystroke and I didn't have to carry the cards around. So, and that was in those days, I was the programmer and the analyst. It should have been backwards. The analyst who got the specs, figured out everything, and then wrote the code and then put the programs into production. I was damn good. And I graduated to PL1 on an IBM 4341, and we did have terminals to put our.
I did PO1, I did Cobalt, I did Fortran. I had the box of cards.
Yep.
And of course, one of the fun things we would do is you're walking down with your program and
don't drop that card.
Boom! Yes.
Oh,
and they hit the box, the cards go everywhere.
Never
So we learned to
happened.
put numbers on the back of the cards.
Yep, never happened. I'll tell you, once a nighttime, I was running batch programming overnight, and the operator called me at around 2 in the morning, and he said, my real name, and he said, we had an abend at card number 675. What do you want me to do? And I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark, and I closed my eyes, and I said, you know what? Go back 3 cards, put a 0 in job control on the operator's console, run it from there again. I will stay up exactly 6 minutes sitting on the edge of my bed waiting for your call. If you don't call me back, I'll know that I did it right. And it ran. He did not call me back. And I knew you knew your code. You knew 2,000 line, right, James? You knew your code. You knew what you knew it inside. Anyway, enough about that. Thank you for the memories there. And everybody, I'm so happy to have all of you. Seriously, I have great respect. I've been writing my almost murder mystery novel, satirical. Oh my God, I have a pen name because if the people who read it knew that I was writing about them. And the disclaimer says, if you think this is about you or somebody you know, either get a drink, see a psychologist, or go into therapy or get a good lawyer, because it probably is. That's my disclaimer. So there you go, full disclaimer. And I have it, I finished the characters, I finished the plot. Now I got to put the main part together with the background, and I have writer's block right now. So Alison, I'm hoping you'll motivate me to go back and put the damn thing together. It's about 40,000 words altogether. Do it. Okay, now's the part of the show where I've asked each of you to please send me a fictional quote from a character in a movie or a TV show, or a song lyric, and you're going to relate it to your creativity. Another 3 minutes, and let's see where we go. Alison McBain has sent a quote from Jason Nesmith, played by one and only Tim Allen. Galaxy Quest, 1999 sci-fi comedy film, and it's a parody of and an homage to sci-fi films and series, especially Star Trek and its fandom. The film depicts the cast of a fictional cult TV series, Galaxy Quest, drawn into a real interstellar conflict by actual aliens. Actual aliens who think the series is an accurate documentary. Very, very interesting. And and by the way, Reader's Digest, it made the top 100 funniest movies of all time in 2012, Alison. And in 2013, Star Trek fans voted it the number 7 top best Star Trek film of all time. Just so you know, that's how high up in the food chain it is. Starring Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman, Tony Shalhoub, one of my favorite actors, Sam Rockwell, Daryl Mitchell. It won the Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation, the Nebula Award, how appropriate, for Best Script, and the Saturn Award, Best Actor, for Tim Allen. Here's the quote. Would you get to it already, Red? Alison saying, for God's sake. Here we go. It's 5 words. Never give up. Never surrender. I don't know whose accent that would be, but that was Jason talking. Alison, 3 minutes. What does this have to do with your creativity? I think we know, but tell us anyway. Go ahead.
Well, I think it has to do with any author who gets published or goes on to win an award or just keeps on writing. That's pretty much the business in a nutshell for me, because there's a lot of rejection in writing. There's a lot of rejection in publishing. If you stay in writing for long enough, you almost become successful by default. And it's all about perseverance. So I love that. I mean, I love the movie. I've watched it like a dozen times. It's one of my favorites. It's such a fun parody, but also it reinforces how much people love the sci-fi genre. And for me, that's also sort of what writing is about. Not only can you never give up on yourself and your writing? You're hoarding through these waves of, you're wading through these monsters of rejection and, self-doubt and writer's block and all of the things that want to slow you down. But you just have to keep on going and get through all of those monsters. And at the end, you get that trophy, or you get that applause, you get that thing published that you've been wanting to get published for so long. So I like to tell writers, especially new writers, your number one fan will always be you. You have to believe in your work more than anyone else, because if you don't, you're never going to find the other person, the editor, the publisher, the agent, who believes in it almost as much as you do. So I love that quote. It's so optimistic. And again, there can be negativity when you face those rejections. You can be like, this was my perfect agent for my book, and they said no. But you keep on going. You got to love what you do. You got to love what you're writing, and someone else will love it just as much.
Thank you for the lesson. That was deep, Alison. That
Mhm.
was, I loved it. I
Felt
loved
that
it.
right here.
And even if you're self-publishing, the same thing applies, right? Don't give up. Don't stop. Go through to the end. Get that damn ISBN number and say, I published a book. Right, James? Right, Candace? There we go.
Yes.
Candace, time for your quote. Randy, played by Leanne Curtis, the movie 16 Candles, going way back in time, 1984, coming-of-age comedy film starring Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall, Michael Shuffling. I don't know who he is. Written and directed by John Hughes. It was his directorial debut, the first in a string of teenage life movies he made. It earned $23.6 million on a $6.5 million budget, and it launched Molly into fame. Quick overview. Suburban Chicago, high school sophomore Samantha Sam Baker is hopeful her 16th birthday is the beginning of a great new year, but she has a beautiful, self-absorbed older sister who's getting married the next day. The family forgets all about Sam's birthday. Well, Randy, her best friend, I don't know why they put this in, Candace, who dresses better than Sam. For some reason that made the overview in Wikipedia, is there when Sam's family forgot her birthday. Here is the quote by Randy. Here we go. Would you stop feeling sorry for yourself? It's bad for your complexion. I love this, Candace. Oh, you got to bail yourself out of this one, lady. What does this have to do with your creativity? Go ahead.
Well, I have loved that movie since 1984, and it's just about awkward people, and it's awkward and it's funny, and it's just got all the cliches and parties, and it's always been one of my favorites. And that quote, when she said it, I never quite understood it, but until I kind of got a little bit older and went, you know what, like, feeling sorry for myself does nothing for me. Like, it doesn't help you. It doesn't. Sitting there and worrying or sitting there and fretting about something doesn't do anything. Like, it is. It's bad for your complexion. It's bad for you. It's bad for your motivation. It's bad for your mental health. It's bad for your physical health. It's bad for everything. So just maintaining that positive attitude and going back to what Alison said about just keep going. And that's what that quote does for me. It just says, you know what, just, okay, so that sucks. Just keep going. Try something different. Try it differently. Go for a walk, come back, just shake out of it, and don't hang in the negative too long. And I've never really been a negative person, but if I do get down, it's easy enough to kind of spiral and kind of feel sorry for yourself. So it doesn't do you any good, and you're not going to get anywhere, and you're not going to achieve your dreams. So just keep going. And, I love what Alison said, and thank you, Alison. It really inspired me just now sitting here. You know what? You just have to keep going, and you just have to keep trying. Someone will love it. And, even if it's a few people, someone will love it, and keep going. It fulfills you, and that's what it's for. So it just keeps me motivated, because it doesn't do anything for you or for anybody else if you're feeling sorry for yourself.
Thank you. And who wants a bad complexion? I'm sorry.
Nobody.
I had to say that. Forgive me. James L. Hill, we're going to get dark here. He's quoting Eclipse, the 10th track on the English rock band Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon, 1973, written and sung by Roger Waters, harmonies by David Gilmour and Rick Wright. After Waters left the band, Gilmour sang lead vocal when they performed it live. Interesting, on the album, it transitions without a break from the previous song, Brain Damage, image, duh, often played together as a single combined track, which is very interesting. The doorman of Abbey Road Studios, named Jerry with a G. O'Driscoll, is heard speaking at 1 minute 37 seconds in, answering the question, what is the dark side of the moon? And his answer is, there is no dark side in the moon, really. Matter of fact, it's all dark. The only thing that makes it look light is the sun. Well, in the background, the Beatles' Ticket to Ride was playing, a cover song by Holly Ridge Strings was playing Ticket to Ride, and you can hear that at the very end in the recording of Jerry Driscoll's voice, which was, I love to do my research, James. So
Yes, you do.
the final words of the song, and everything under the sun is in tune, but the sun is eclipsed by the moon. So here is the quote, is actually the part I just read from Jerry O'Driscoll. There is no dark side of the moon, really. Matter of fact, it's all dark. Okay, James, let's have it. What does this have to do with your creativity? Go ahead.
All right. So, big Pink Floyd fan here. Okay. Been in love with the band for so long. Named my boat after their album, Gumma.
That's awesome.
So I'm a very big rock and roll fan too. Yeah, you can see Kiss on that wall, Led Zeppelin on that one, Jimi Hendrix around the corner.
Woohoo!
So been a rock and roll fan all my life. And The Dark Side of the Moon, when it came out, was this idea that Pink Floyd had reached some sort of pinnacle of success, but they didn't really feel like they would have reached success. The record company and everything was like, oh, wow, you're great. You guys are this and that. And, they were being pushed up against their will because the band itself really didn't like the idea of touring and the big stadium. And they didn't, Roger Waters, David Gilmour, they really didn't like the whole show business of music. They liked the idea of music and everything. And it kind of like drove Sid Barrett out of his mind. He went crazy. So when you get to the idea of brain damage, eclipse, all of that idea from The Dark Side of the Moon, and everybody keeps thinking that the far side, because the moon is tidally locked with Earth, so we only see one side. Everybody thinks that the other side of the moon must be dark. But in actuality, there is no dark side of the moon. The other side of the moon gets light too. We just can't see it. So the idea of our perception is what we believe. And Neil deGrasse Tyson hated that line in that song because so many people asked him about the dark side of the moon, what's it like? And he would have to sit down and tell people there is no dark side of the moon. And so the idea of the perception of what you create and what people believe and what people believe about you isn't real. So don't let that be your reality. There is no dark side of the moon. Your reality is what you will make it. And so as you go on and become creative, and when you create the books and music and whatever you do, that's what's real. That's reality.
I feel like we've had some existential philosophical lessons here, and I'm appreciative because you all picked very interesting songs and movie lines, and I appreciate that because you did the work and you honored me by bringing those and then sharing how they relate to your creativity and your philosophy on what you do. So thank you very much. Now we're going to go to another fun part of the show. You've each sent me 4 statements on your creativity, and I'm going to pick one and read it. Alison, you don't need to go looking for it. I will read it to you and then take 2 to 3 minutes and just unpack it, as they say on the news. So I'm liking statement number 1. I'll read it to you now, and I like this a lot. So this is to inspire the audience a little bit. You say, stories are everywhere. When I walk down the street and see a couple walking toward me, overhear a conversation at a restaurant, read a news article, or eat an apple fritter, each thing I see or smell or taste sparks a story. Not all of them go somewhere, but I store away these bits and pieces and bring them out when I need them. Alison, this is profound, and I have a quote from a very famous person I'll read later that goes along with this, but tell us a little more about what this means to you. I love it. Go ahead, Alison.
So I'm going to say something that might annoy you. I don't get writer's block. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
So
That's fine.
I'm not good at helping people get out of writer's block. My problem has always been finding enough time to write my own stories, because as I've said, I'm an editor. I also do ghostwriting. And so was part of the spark for my idea of doing author versus AI. I'm like, well, I have all these stories cluttering up my head, and I have a list of all the stories I want to write. And so I decided, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to spend a year writing all these books, these bits and pieces, these characters that are in my head too, James, like, that are talking to me too, and get them all down on the page. So maybe they'll shut up. All right. And so for me, inspiration is everywhere. And again, every little bit is part of someone's story. So if you see someone having an argument, that might be a bigger part of their story. They're not just, terrible people having an argument. It could be because someone's, mother has passed away, and they're upset about how they're getting to there. Maybe they can't afford a plane ticket, and they're trying to figure it out. Like, again, I'm just spitballing here, but everything can spark a story. And finding the humanity in things that are even really, really dark. For example, whenever I try to write a villain, I want to find something, they're not all bad. There's something good in them too. They are the hero of their own story, even if it turns out to be very, very terrible for the people who they affect. So making those 3D characters, both my protagonists and antagonists, and even side characters that walk on for a chapter and then walk off again, they have their own stories too, and they are the heroes of their own story, even if they are not the hero of the story that you're writing. So for me, it's all because of that inspiration. Everyone has a story to tell, including me, including my characters, including the person walking down the street, walking their dog. They have the story too. So I just love finding inspiration everywhere. Like, the smallest thing can spark the biggest story.
Your grandmother self-published a book at the age of 90. Give me 1 minute about that, please, because I know Candace and James want to hear it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and she's the one who gave me the best advice of my life, which was, I was joking with her, well, if you published a book at 90, that means I have, at the time, 60 more years to get my own first book out. And she told me, don't wait. But her book was, her father was from Holland, actually both her parents. And so it was his letters writing back to his family. And she took those letters, translated them from the Dutch, and wrote a family history about how he came over, the family in Holland, his adventures once he got here to Canada, and just, how he built his life here. So it's a very, it's a personal story. I love that she got it out there. I love that she published it. She's working on it for over 10 years.
Bravo. Very nice. I'm glad you put that in your statements. I wanted to share that. Let's move on to Candace. I'm combining statement 1 and 2 for you, Candace. I think they go together. Forgive me for this. You say, I can't draw, I can't cut hair, I can't put together an inspired space, but I can and love putting words together. Noodling out how to share a compelling and gripping story with least amount of words is a challenge that inspires my creativity. And then you say, it's not always easy to stay focused, or sometimes I get stumped on a scene. I think we could all relate to that. So if I need an extra boost of creativity, I go for a walk, I meet a friend for coffee. Alison, is this sound familiar? I do a puzzle, and by distracting myself, I can usually find the inspiration and spark to untangle my words and get back to it. Candace, 2 to 3 minutes. Go. Unpack.
Wow. Okay. Well, it was a lot. It was a lot there. Yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. I unfortunately, I'm very envious of Alison and James. I don't have all of the characters in my head. They, the story is there, and I almost get more inspired by the words and really trying to bring you into a space and dump you into a scene with the least amount but most interesting words, so you can really get, like, just sucked right in. That's what I like to do. It's the art of the word, the ability to drag you through something so you're completely immersed. And I get so excited about that part of the writing. I love the characters, and although this is a personal story, they've become characters now. Everybody's a character because it was so long ago, and I was such a different person when all of this happened. So for me, it's just about immersing into it. But I get so sucked in that, before I know it, my kids are clamoring around and like sort of poking their head and looking for dinner. So I kind of have to take a break and stop. But there is sometimes though where I just get so immersed in it, and it's just not, you've just spent too much time on it. You've gone over it and over and over. And it's just not working. So that ability to be able to pull away and just do stuff. I don't try not to watch TV because you get a little dragged down, but a puzzle or something like that, or a quick chat or a quick walk around the block really helps. But yeah, for me, it's just the enjoyment of telling the story. I love to tell the stories. I get really, look at me, I'm all like, woo, I'm all excited about it, but just want it to be a pleasant journey and something that someone picks up the book. It's not an effort. You don't have to spend ages getting used to my style. I picked up a book the other day and I was like, oh, I'm not ready for you right now. I'll pick you up later. But I just want people to be able to read it and to enjoy it and to immerse. And so that's where I strive for the simplicity, but the poignancy and the exact use of words. So
thank you. Lovely. I'm going to move on. And I did find my David Byrne quote. Alison, I'll read it after James does his statement. I don't want to interrupt here. James, he says, being creative is closing your eyes and letting the universe come to you. Often when I find I am out of ideas and how to proceed with the story, or a plot does not make sense, I stop thinking about the problem and I sleep on it. I do this when I'm programming too. Trying to figure out the logic and the algorithms that will work requires stepping out of the problem and seeing the big picture. James, this is deep. Go ahead, talk to us.
Okay. Like I said, in programming or in any kind of creative idea, you can get tunnel vision. And you can, when you're working on something, I know Red, when you're working on a problem, you're working on code and things aren't working, you're hitting errors, or when you're writing a story and you just can't get that character right, you can't find the right words in the dialogue or the scene, you're trying to set up a scene and it just doesn't work. You write something and you're like, well, no, that doesn't make sense. You start overthinking it, and you start thinking it from what other people will think about what you were doing. And and you're like, no, that won't work. That's not going to right. No, that doesn't sound right. He wouldn't say that. And so you get this, and you get deeper and deeper and closer until you're trapped inside this little bubble that you created for yourself. And really, what you need to do is get outside that. You need to pop the bubble and let the universe lay back and watch the world go by, watch the clouds go by, lay out there on a starry night and watch stars. We can't really see many stars anymore, unfortunately. But if you ever go out onto the ocean, and I've been on a couple of cruises and things like that, or if you go up into the mountains or something, away from city, away from civilization, and you take a look at the night sky, it's amazing. It is bright. There's things moving across all the time. There's so many things that you don't see. And when you're trying to find your way through your story or through some problem that you have, like in programming, you're writing code and this doesn't work, that didn't work, you got to divide by 0 and you're like, where the heck did that come from? and so, and you find and you hit these brick walls, that's another brick in the wall, according to Pink Floyd. And so,
well done.
you get to the point where, once you get to that point where you can't really see what you're doing, you need to just go to bed, hang it up, put it away, go to bed.
There you go.
Unfortunately, when I do that sometime, and this is what used to drive my wife crazy, I would go to bed, I would lay there for about 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I would pop up out of bed and say, oh, I got
Yeah.
it. And I go back to my computer and either I finish writing code or I start typing again on the story. And, another 2 or 3 hours go by and here you go again. So it's the idea of if you're working too hard at one thing, you're probably pushing everything else that would help you out. So stop working, stop pushing, let it come to you. Let the ideas come to you. And they will. They will. When you quiet all the voices in your head, which is sometimes really hard to do, the one true voice comes through.
Thank you.
Yeah.
James, I used to do that with math problems. I took advanced placement math in high school. I don't know what I was taking. My Saturdays were spent auditing a calculus class at Queens College with some of my brainiac friends. We were in the Honor Society, and our mothers took turns driving us to Queens College to audit a calculus. I don't know why, but we did. That's how fun I was. But what I was going to say was sometimes a math problem eluded me, and I leave pencil and paper next to my bed on the bedside table, and in the middle of the night, sometimes I'd wake up and I'd know the answer to the problem. I'd write it down. And there it was. I have something. Thank you all for those. Alison, I'm going to read this. Rockstar David Byrne's Little Beginnings Trick for a Wildly Creative 2023. He was interviewed, Talking Heads frontman David Byrne. He was a guest on somebody named Steve Johnson's How Ideas Happen podcast. And here's what he said. Sometimes I have just the title of a song that comes to me and I write it down and I go, expand on that. I think there's something there. And I also have in my computer a whole lot of musical ideas that may have a melody, a nonsense word melody, awaiting words. But usually I need something to start with. It's hard to start from nothing. I'll accumulate these very little beginnings, and when I come back, I've got something to build on. And then the closing words of this were, our minds fizz with fragments of ideas, puzzles to ponder, clues on how to fix a problem. Most of us undervalue that chatter. Writers and artists systematically capture the little beginnings. I wanted to read that to you. What do you think? I think
I love that.
That
is
cool?
exactly how it is. Yes.
Isn't that cool? Let's see. I have 7 minutes left. About 12 years ago, I decided I wanted to write a play. And I went on I was working full time as, I don't know what I was, marketing or programming or doing something. And I went online around 1 a.m. and I looked up, what's the outline for how do you write a play? What font do you use? How do you space it? How do you organize setting up the characters, the scene? How do you add dialogue? And I downloaded something called, it was a Word document, and it was a template. It was Playwriting 101. And the next night, I sat down at 1 o'clock in the morning and I started writing my play. I fleshed out the names of the characters and the scenes and all that. The night after that, I wrote about a third of it. By the fourth night, I was done. I had a TV show called Something to Talk About on a cable station, Long Island, New York. And I got some community actors I knew, community theater, and I asked them if they would act my play. We put up a green screen. My director, it took place in at Penn Station, in the front of Penn Station in Manhattan. My director went and taped on his phone scenes of cabs and buses and all of the noise with the open roof on his car and brought back. And then we did a green screen and we took a picture of a cab and projected it on the green screen. And we had the actors sitting in a box, and I got a child's driver's steering wheel, a toy one. And I filmed it twice. I directed and coached the actors. But what I wanted to tell all of you was the characters talked to me. They told me what they wanted to say. Alison, there was no writer's block in this one. It was just, he wants to talk, and it was the man and the woman and the cab driver. That was it. And from the time they met, from a dating site in front of Penn Station in a crowd to being in the cab to getting ready to go out of the cab. And there were 3 acts. And years later, I did something when I was living in Durham, North Carolina. I did something called a cold reading salon. I wanted to organize this event. 25 people showed up. They signed up. And I put on Roald Dahl and this was free monologues, dialogues, comedy, put up about 25 of these on a table, printed them all out, my own time, my own expense, with just a title on the page. It said, this is a dialogue, this is a monologue, this requires 3 people, 2 female voices, 1 male, or a monologue. And I said to everybody, come up and pick something off the table, just like that, pick something off the table. And interspersed with these printouts was a scene from my play. It wasn't a trick. It was just there. So people came and they picked and they picked, and they gave them 5 minutes to read over the script they had picked. These were just 1 or 2 pages, really brief. And then I said, who wants to go first? Somebody raised their hand. I said, okay, everybody, be appreciative. And they got up and they did a cold read on book of whatever it was. It was hysterical. I did this 2 or 3 times, 25 people. We had people did scenes where they co-acted in scenes. They didn't even know each other. But at one point, somebody picked up the scene from my play and they read it. And I forgot that I had put it in the pile. And I'm listening and I'm saying, geez, that's funny. I wonder who wrote that. I said, oh, it's mine. That was really good. I love that character. It was mine. And that's how I knew that I appreciated what I had created, because I heard it read by somebody and I wasn't attached. My ego wasn't attached to it at that point. And it was just a delightful experience. We have 5 minutes left and I have a bunch of stuff to do here. I'm going to have some fun with all of you. We're going to do some music events on this day, July 8th in history. We're going to do some national events and some celebrity birthdays. So let's do this really, really fast. I'll pick and choose here. In 1946 on this day, Ava Gardner divorced band leader Artie Shaw after 1 year. And guess who she married next? Frank Sinatra. There you go. I thought you all needed to know that. In 1954 on this day, Dewey Phillips at WHBQ in Memphis, Tennessee became the first DJ to play an Elvis Presley song on the radio. When he spun That's All Right Mama on his Red Hot and Blue show. The switchboard lit up. He kept playing the song and it gave Elvis his first prime time publicity early in his career. 3 years later, Elvis's Let Me Be Your Teddy Bear hit #1 in the US the day before it debuted in his movie Loving You. It was #1 for 7 weeks. In 1958, the RIAA, Record Industry America, gave its first gold album to the Oklahoma soundtrack. $1 million in sales for the soundtrack. The gold standard for albums changed in 1975. It had to be over 500,000 copies. Okay, let's see now. One more. Let's see. You'll love this. In 2003, one of Elvis's teeth, once the property of former girlfriend Linda Thompson, went on auction on eBay. James, they were selling his tooth along with a lock of his hair and a gold record. It went for $100,000. Okay. And
dear.
in 2023, Elton John wrapped up his farewell tour in Stockholm. It started in 2018. It played to 6 million fans in 22 countries. It was the highest grossing tour with $900 million until, guess who bumped him off of that one? Taylor Swift. Her hair was dry. There you go.
Yeah.
Today, happy birthday, Kevin Bacon. You all know him from Footloose and Hollow Man and Mystic River and Friday. He's 66. Happy birthday, and still married to Kira Sedgwick, as far as I know. I'm waiting to find out. Angelica Houston, the actress, 73 today. John Huston's daughter, actress for Best Supporting Actress for Prizzi's Honor and an Independent Spirit Award for The Dead. And I saw her as playing a character in NBC's Smash. It was a very interesting series, short-lived but good. Michael Weatherly, one of my favorites. He played Tony DiNozzo on NCIS, and then he starred in a trial series, a trial analyst series called Bull. I'm so sorry it was off. He got his start as a minor role on The Cosby Show, duh. And Milo Ventimiglia is 47 today. He played Jess Marino on The Gilmore Girls, but more important, he played Rocky Jr. Balboa, Balboa Jr., the son of Rocky, in 6 Rocky movies with Sylvester Stallone. Here we go. Social media, some birthdays. I'm going to do this fast. YouTube. We're saying happy birthday to Adam Moran, 39 years old. Alison, he only has 4.1 million subscribers. Guess what he does? He's a competitive eater. His nickname is Beard Meats, MEATS Food. He competes in extreme food challenges in North America and England. He was number 15 best professional competitive eater in the world as of 2020. He was a banker before this, James. He set the world's record for the most McDonald's chicken nuggets eaten in one setting. In the Yorkshire Pudding Eating World Championships in 2015. I have to tell you. Now, we have a young lady named Andrea Quadro-Salek, S-A-L-E-K. She's 30 today on TikTok. Are you sitting down, Candace and James? She only has 20 million subscribers. She shares dramatic lip sync performances One of her videos had a Spanish caption. I will not try to read it, but the English translation, it took me a while to find it. Your parents forbid you from bringing boys home until you turn 18, but a new exchange boy arrives. I have no idea what that means. And on Instagram, we have Lucas Coley, Coly. He's a French American. He was on Vine, Twitter, and he posts Instagram rap music videos. He only has 1.2 million subscribers, and he posts pictures of him blowing smoke. It's Be a Kid again today. It's International Town Criers Day. I know. It's National Blueberry Day, Chocolate with Almonds Day, Freezer Pop Day, Ice Cream Sundae Day. It's National Denise Day. Wave hello to somebody named Denise and Catherine. Love Your Skin Day, Video Game Day, and Nude Recreation Week. I'm not going to read you anything.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
That sounds like for me.
Watercolor month.
Sign me up.
It's Watercolor Month, Doghouse Repair Month, Smart Irrigation Month, and Family Golf Month. And here's my closing. Here we go. In 2014, I closed my shows with top 10 tips for women. And here was the top one. I kept my notes. This is for Candace and Alison. Aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. Now, here's my real closing. Life is short. Don't go away. We're going to talk after. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Nah. Kiss slowly. Definitely. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably with me. 2 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And never, ever, ever regret anything that made you smile. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. When I taught disco, they watched. Sing like nobody's listening. Love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Get over it. Money talks. Chocolate sings. And last but not least, I stole this line from somebody. Thank you for turning me on. Radio Red signing off. Don't go away. Candace and Alison and James, wonderful. Wave goodbye to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube.
Bye.
Michael, are we out? Michael,
Bye,
Michael? Michael.
All clear. We are out.
Thank you. I'll see you or Jordan on Wednesday, okay?
All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, dear. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.